Hello and welcome to the trash, and a little bit late on this, but nonetheless, Season 2, Episode 2 of Tough as Nails has released. Let's talk about it. Alright, so I'm just going to go over a synopsis of the episode, tell you what I thought of the episode, and then we'll get into my updated player rankings. So that'll be fun, that'll be interesting. See who might have changed on my player rankings, you know, who may have stayed the same on my player rankings. You never know. So let's get into this. Let's start talking about the episode. The team challenge this episode was collect and stack 100 lobster traps on a boat and then strap them down for the win. First team to complete it won. So the bosses, I forget if they did that last season. I think they did do it last season, but each team had to select like a boss. And MERRYL was the boss for Savage Crew. Tara was the boss for Dirty Hands. You know, because since this is Tara's area of expertise, they selected Tara. And in this challenge, this is a lot more interesting than the first team challenge, I would say. I'd say this challenge just really had an interesting factor to it. Because, you know, this is Tara's area of expertise. But that doesn't mean she's automatically going to be granted the win, if you know what I'm saying. Because Dirty Hands didn't really have it all together for most of it. I mean, they still pulled out the win at the end of it. But Dirty Hands didn't really have it all together. Like, Freight Train fell off the boat into the water. Dirty Hands really needs to start, like, cracking down on their teamwork abilities, because not that Dirty Hands doesn't have good teamwork. I mean, they do have pretty good teamwork. I think, judging from the fact that, like, Freight Train fell off the boat into the water, that might not be a good sign for Dirty Hands. Now, that is kind of Eyebrow's fault, though. Eyebrows is the one who pushed Freight Train in. Even though it wasn't done intentionally, Eyebrows was still responsible for Freight Train landing in the water. And that's not to say that Freight Train landing in the water was so detrimental to Dirty Hands' teamwork, because it was just so inconsequential to Dirty Hands. Freight Train just got right out of the water and went back to work. And that's what you like to see. So Dirty Hands pulled out the win for this challenge. They tied up the score 1-1. So each team has won $2,000 each, $12,000 split among 6 people. That's $2,000 each. Yep. Now, one thing I really do like about Dirty Hands' teamwork in the team portion is Angel. Angel really is holding the team together, I'd say. Not that they wouldn't do fine without Angel, but Angel's really the MVP for that team. I'm really thinking, because I had Angel really low on my individual list. On the team list, I think Angel's really high. I might do a team list, like who's the best for their team. I might do that later on down the line. But if I do, Angel's going to be very high on that list. Angel had a nice redemption arc this episode too that you really like to see, because last episode he thought he let the team down a little bit. So this episode, he's just really out there to redeem himself. He's really trying to redeem himself this episode, and he did that. He redeemed himself. It was shown that he's a great team player. I knew even last episode he was a great team player. I knew before the season began he was going to be a great team player. So it's really interesting. We'll have to see how Angel ends up in the team portion. I don't really have much confidence in him in the individual portion, but that could change too, who knows. So in the individual portion, speaking of that, we'll get into that next. The challenge for the individual portion was to transport slime eels, or hagfish, from one tank to another. Another pretty inconsequential thing. It's funny because Eyebrows got his comeuppance for pushing Freight Train into the water. He had a hard slip and fall during the individual portion of the challenge. But he's also a trooper. He's just as much of a trooper as Freight Train is, because he gets back up and he gets back to work. So the winner of the individual portion this episode was Scott. Scott's really surprising me this season. I mean, I had him high up on my rankings already, but I mean, he's just breezing through the competition. So second place went to Liz, and once again, Liz gets the second place finish. Maybe she can get a first place finish sometime in the near future. Who knows? Overtime this episode consisted of Tara and SWIFTY, so because they finished last in the individual portion. Obviously, same as last season, overtime happens, loser gets eliminated from the individual portions, punches out. In the overtime challenge, Tara and SWIFTY had to untangle line buoys, then stack 4 of them on a rack and put their rope back inside the box. So Tara was in the lead for the start of the challenge, and I thought, well dang, it's going to be a bummer to lose SWIFTY this early. But I didn't account for Tara's hand injury. Now, Tara foreshadowed her hand injury earlier in the episode. She said, oh, my hand was acting up and that's why I finished last in this challenge. Because technically it is supposed to be Tara's area of expertise this episode, but didn't end well for her. I was thinking to myself, like, oh, Swifty's gone, there's no way he can come back from this. And then he does. This is mainly due to Tara's hand injury, which sucks for her. It really does. Tara doesn't deserve to lose like this. I think Tara was a strong competitor, and she was gonna go far. But then her hand injury acted up, and I had her pretty high on my list too, but I didn't account for her hand injury. So that's an interesting sort of direction in this episode, that she even had to go get checked out by medical. And SWIFTY, he's an honest, loyal guy. He's like, no, I don't want to do this if Tara's not going to be able to. I want to win fairly. And like everyone's pressuring, even Phil steps in and says, hey, this isn't how you wanted it to go down, but you got to finish the job. And it was a sad moment. SWIFTY had to finish the job, and Tara had her thumb checked out by medical. And yeah, it was just a sad ending, because it sucks that Tara had to leave, but it was the circumstances that were called for. She may come back to the team portion, and that's what makes Tough as Nails so different, is that if you get eliminated from the individual portion, you can still come back and play in the team portion, but it's looking like Tara might not even be able to do that. So we'll have to see. We'll have to see next episode how stuff happens. I hope Tara's okay, and I hope she can come back for the team portion, but if not, then that's just the way things are, sadly. So now we can move on to my updated player rankings. I'm going to do this after every episode. What I'm going to do is I'm going to update my player rankings, and obviously, Tara ranks down at number 12, considering how she's out of the individual portion, so she literally can't win now. Whereas everyone else still has a chance, Tara does not have a chance at all. So Tara's here at number 12. Sadly, that's the way it's got to be. And at number 11, I still have Sarah Burkett at the bottom of the people who are still in. I don't know, Sarah, she's getting a lot more screen time than I thought she would. But I don't know, I still think Sarah's gotta pick up the pace a little bit. She did pretty well in this challenge. Sarah's not screaming winner to me. She's not really giving me the winner vibes. And she might win. I mean, I just think everyone else has a better shot. I don't really think Sarah really has a good shot in the game. I don't think she'll be the next one gone, though. I think she might last a little bit long. She might last until the finals, but I just don't think she's got it in her to win. Now, in at number 10, obviously I had to technically move him down, but he's still in 10th place. It's Angel Castillo. I only moved him down because one person proved herself to be better than what I originally expected. But Angel's still here at number 10. I don't know. Team-wise, he's pretty high. Individual-wise, he's pretty low. That's just the way Angel is. So I moved up Iraida to number 9 because I originally thought she wasn't adaptable enough. I still think she's not that adaptable. The reason I had her so low on my original list is because she seemed kind of cocky in her interviews. But now, after watching a few episodes, I realize that's not really the case. I don't really know where I got that idea from, but I think Iraida's got a better shot than Sarah and Angel, and I think she really showed herself in this episode more than she showed herself in episode 1. I moved Celi up to 8, naturally, but I also thought she got a little bit more adaptable. You know, her whole tactic during the individual portion where she, like, got inside the eel tank. I wouldn't have been able to do that, but Celi did it. Celi did it just fine. I moved Celi up to number 8. SWIFTY's staying down at number 7 because SWIFTY has a foot injury. Learning now what Tara's hand injury did to her, I'm worried about SWIFTY's foot injury, so I'm a lot less confident on SWIFTY than I was in my original ranking. I moved up Eyebrows to number 6. I honestly think Eyebrows is getting the type of edit that really makes him go far, but like I said originally, he could go far. He could make the finals, but I don't think he'll win. I think he'll be surrounded by people that will beat him. Honestly, if I had to put my money on someone to make it to the finals and lose, I'd pick Eyebrows. And I hope I'm wrong. I hope Eyebrows pulls out the win, because I like Eyebrows. Like, I like Eyebrows even more than I liked him before the preseason interviews. But I just don't think he'll be able to win against other stacked competition that he has coming his way. But I still moved him up a decent amount. I kept MERRYL at number 5. I don't know, she's still a really solid choice, and that's really all I gotta say about that one. Now, these top 4 are still very interchangeable. I kept Scott Henry at number 4. I think he's a very good contender to win. A very good contender to win is my opinion on him. But like I said, this top 4 is very interchangeable, and I did move 2 people on this top 4. I moved 2 people. I switched him around, and Scott Henry, I honestly considered putting him back up at number 1. I'm not really that confident. I'm still very confident. Like, these 4 are still my 4 picks to win. I still really believe in these 4. I still have Scott at number 4. I don't know. And at number 3, I moved Freight Train down. And no, it's not because he fell in the water, okay? It's not because he fell in the water. It's because I think Liz moved up, okay? Liz moved ahead of Freight Train because I think Liz proved herself more than Freight Train did. I mean, Freight Train, yes, he's a trooper. He got back up. He fell down. He got back up. He got back to work. Liz got second place twice. And yes, Scott placed very high on both the challenges too, but Liz has the best average placement of anyone individual-wise on the season. I think Freight Train's another great option, but I think Liz really proved herself to be worthy of a win. Because I originally thought that if Liz made it to the final 3 with someone like a Freight Train, someone like a ZEUS, that they were going to beat her no matter what. But I think Liz probably even stands a shot against ZEUS, honestly. Like, Liz is not someone to sleep on this season, although I still am really confident about Scott and Freight Train, just not as confident as I am about Liz. Alright, moving on to number 1, I still have ZEUS. ZEUS is still my number 1. Come on, guys. ZEUS, honestly, he's not really getting much of an edit in the show. Like, he's not really shown much. But when he is, it's really positive content. There's not really much, like, negative stuff you can show. Like, he gets the job done. He gets it done in a timely manner. He didn't go into overtime. I don't even think he was close into going into overtime. That just shows you how much of a beast he is. But like I said, this list is subject to change. I want to make that clear. This list is subject to change. It definitely will be changed because I'm not going to be right on this. I don't think I'm going to be right on this. But this list is subject to change. I still have a solid top 4. MERRYL kind of makes it a top 5 because MERRYL's getting pretty solid too. However, I think those are the 5 that I'm really thinking will win. I mean, I'm rooting for eyebrows too. That's all I got for you in this video. I'll be back next week with another, I guess it'll be Thursday or whenever I can do it. I will recap episode 3 and I'll update my list accordingly. And we'll just have to see where the season goes. I'm really loving this season. I'm really excited to see this season play out, and it's going to be an awesome season. See ya.